Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Okay, okay. Can you hear me? One, two, two.
Okay, yes, good evening. Yes, thank you for coming. Uh, and also, people who are watching us live, wherever you are, thank you for joining as we start our health talk for every Saturday. Um, Starting today. So, for today, to be an introduction to what we mean by longevity, living long, as we can now discuss further topics, including genetics next week. But anyway, for today, it will just be more of introduction. Next week, we shall have a presentation. We have a board here, so there will be slides and it will be more. So today, it's just okay. We still have two more people. Can you send them? Okay. Okay. Yes. So this is the Center for Healthy Aging, located in Namugongo, Chereko Road, um, near Agenda Hotel. I am Dr. Yakub, a doctor, scientist, researcher, but also the team lead of Vigilant Living, which is the organization which is promoting health and well-being across Uganda and beyond in Africa through health coaching. So mainly we are tackling what we call conditions of lifestyle, non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension, heart diseases, stroke, cancers, dementia, arthritis, joint pain, infertility, all these conditions which can be called also diseases of the affluence. This was the disease of the rich. Okay. But yes, so I think if you have it, it can be a sign of that you are rich. Yes, you are wealthy, yes. So the disease of affluence. But anyway, today's time, almost everyone has it, whether you are rich or not. It's a common disease. Currently in Uganda, 15 million Ugandans are living with one or more of these conditions. So either diabetes, they say now up to 3 million Ugandans have diabetes, hypertension, they say up to 5, I think to 8 million Ugandans have hypertension. And the bad thing is 80% of people don't actually know that they have it. So that's why special hypertension is called a silent killer, because you just die. You don't actually know you had it till someone gets stroke, and then they just die. Heart disease also is very common. People with heart conditions. Uh, for it, there's what we call the widow maker. The widow maker, yes, that's one of the heart disease conditions. So because it happens like that, and it leaves behind widows. So now, like Simon, you'll die, and then you don't even know. That's why it's called the widow maker. But anyway, we are trying to for people to be more proactive, to know about your status, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your weight, cholesterol, other things. And from there on, we proceed to the health coaching, as you have seen with Yasin here and the team. So the center, we have the facilities. We are also members of the Uganda NCD Alliance, where we work together. We do health camps, as well as the Ministry of Health, self-care day. Uh, yeah, but we have other things in place. But anyway, for now, so I have a question for you all. How long would you want to live? You can start with.
I think I plus.
Okay, 100 plus. Okay, okay,
Near to 100.
okay,
Wow. Wow.
okay. Uh, Would you want to add, or 100 is enough for you? Okay. Yeah. So, ideally, we say women live longer than men. So I think, Simon, there are factors why women live longer normally, to do with the way the body is, the hormones, but also things to do with stressors, which normally men contain, and then yeah, they just bust and they die. But all in all, we want everyone to live long, longevity, 100 plus. I think, yeah, there's nothing worse than working hard to make money, and then you just die with, then the kids now spend the money. Uh, but also at the same time, it's not just about living long, it's also about being healthy. Because you can live for 100, but if you spend 20 years bedridden, is it better to be alive? So it's also being healthy while living. So what we call health span, uh, lifespan, health span. I think in Uganda the average life expectancy is around 65 to 70. That is in Uganda.
That is a big improvement. Before it, there is one thing really at 40 something.
So things are moving up. Things are moving up. So the more things improve, the more you also have these diseases, because these diseases normally come up because the person is living long, the body starts aging, so you get these conditions coming up. Uh, and now, other statistics. What is the how many Ugandans are beyond the age of 60? I think it came out the other day from UPOS.
Yeah, didn't
I
really.
think it was 5% Ugandans. So how much is that now? 2 million, 2.5 million
For above,
above 60.
they only 3 million.
Only 5%. That is
5%.
2 point something, 2.3, 2.4. Yes. That's why they say Uganda is a young country. Like still young. But I think in time, people will be aging. Uganda will be aging like the way now what is happening in the world. You can see countries like Japan, Korea, Italy, Europe, US, they have issues of, uh, there's the population is collapsing. More people are elderly, and less people are young.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's why they're open to immigration, because they're getting from Africa these young people, uh, and that's why COVID was a lot of people died from COVID in those countries because the population is old and there's not enough young people. So I don't know whether Uganda will be going that direction, but yeah, maybe time will tell. I think time will tell, how society is. Another fact is education. The more society is educated, the more society is exposed economically. You might think there'll be more children, but actually there's less children. Yeah. So that is also another funny thing. Yeah. The more there's a social improvement, the more there's expectations. Now there was a joke which said, these days the best contraceptive is, school fees. When you look at it, you'll have to think twice. Yeah, to just have children. With all these other additional things, a kid has to go to Dubai, South Africa. Yeah, things which are not there. Think. So I wanted to just say a few things about, the center and the reason why it is there. So the center is, actually a consortium of three organizations. Vigilant Living, that is us. So Uganda Research Association is an old organization now, 30 year old. Actually, it started 1993, I think. It's a membership organization for the elderly across Uganda. They also have association. They have, community associations for elderly within the different districts in Uganda. So last month was the AGM. Actually, so they also work with the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, the National Council for the Elderly, And yeah, I think you'll come across them one day when the CEO will be around. Uh, so the four main things which we are trying to achieve here at the center, and the reason why we exist. So there are four main reasons why we exist. Number one, to give Ugandans the opportunity to age gracefully and dignified. Those are two different words. To age with grace, of course, it means to age healthy, to age independent, to be capable. I think that's one of the biggest issues with aging is the loss of that independence. The fact that someone has a condition, someone gets a stroke, someone gets a fracture, which is common, fracture of the hip. So now start losing that independence. Someone now starts requiring a caregiver. So it's that is now loss of that grace, but also the dignity. Because when you have that independence, you also have dignity. The more you lose it, the less dignified. There are some subtle stories behind you have seen, which is now the organization made it for elderly because they will tell you a lot of elderly uh, denied food because they become a lot of work. So to have now seats like those ones, someone can sit and do their business without needing the support while they do. So dignity, yeah, it's a very big issue. Yes, yes, you're welcome, Proskovia. Yes, thank you. So yes, that was the first reason. The second one, to prevent and manage non-communicable diseases and their complications, i.e., premature death and disability. So there's what we call premature death. We're all going to die, but you can die before your time. So 40 now, someone dies at 40, you say that's a lost. So the community, the nation, the family has lost someone at a young age who was going to be beneficial on different sides. So premature death, now NCDs is the reason why we have a lot of these. I think you hear someone died when they are just 35. These days it's becoming more common, either because of a stroke. Uh, Number two, you also have a lot of kidney diseases, kidney failure. You see people looking for money to help someone who is like just now 35, 40, because they have kidney failure, heart disease. There's a certain group of these conditions which are not part of it, which is what we call also mental health and addiction, substance use. So also addiction has its own deaths, mental health, even road traffic accident. That's also a form of death, which is to do with these diseases because someone who has such accidents, sometimes they are under the influence, other times they have some other maybe mental challenges. So premature death plus disability, which is now what the complications lead to, where and they're expensive. So that's why in Uganda you have Uganda Heart Institute, Uganda Cancer Institute, even Mulagro, other hospitals, because there's a lot of money in it. So that's now our fourth point. So the third point is to increase what we call quality adjusted life years and reduce disability adjusted life years. So the quality adjusted life years is how long has someone lived while they were healthy. Now the other one is opposite, disability adjusted life years. So if someone has lived for 70 years, but they were bedridden the last 20 years, so let's say now this person was maybe, if they were healthy, they would have died at the age of 80, but they died at 70. So they have lost 10 years because of the death. But they also lost maybe another 20 years because of the disability. So someone has lost 30 years, what is now called disability adjusted life years. So you might say someone has just lived for 50 years actually, when they were supposed to live for 80 years. Quality of life is also the opposite, uh, which is now how much quality life you have lived, which is now the 50 years. The other factor is why we do what we do is what we call to reduce healthcare expenditure and medical debt. The number one cause of medical bankruptcy or even death, anyway, it is what? Health. I think COVID-19 was you could see rich people who died in hospitals, and even the hospitals were not releasing the bodies because there was yeah, a lot of bill to be paid. So medical debt, expenses. Uganda is one of the countries which has no insurance, national insurance. I think that it's in the government now, the ministry. Uh, so the average person pays out of pocket, which is always more expensive. So the fact that there's no medical insurance, and also now the public healthcare infrastructure is not strong enough to handle the demand of people who are having these diseases. So if you now go to Uganda Cancer Institute, you see people sleeping on the ground. Uganda Heart, it's more of actually it's more expensive because it's private. So that's the other fact. It's also even the government hospitals have a private element to it because of the demand, because they cannot really even cover for the community who are coming for free. So even if you get a service, they will still tell you to go and buy medicine, go and get a lab test. Um, yeah, those are the challenges now. Lastly, is to create, of course, more opportunities for the people who are retirement. Now, retirement actually, they say retirement itself is the first symptom of death in a sense because retirement comes with the loss of the functionality, even for the mind. Now, if you are running this office, you're out of the office, sitting at home, then the brain starts now declining. This is where we have condition with what we call the dementia. Also, even that routine, since you have worked like this for the last 30, 40 years, you wake up in the morning, commute to work, that routine is disrupted out of nowhere. So even to restart it, it's hard. It's very challenging. And actually, a lot of people lose now that meaning. There's a story which I had from someone where a certain individual who was a manager in a bank, one of these big banks, reached his retirement age and he was told they have to retire. So the day of the retirement is when that day is like they told him yes you can go, but he refused to go. He sat at his office. He sat there. He left at night. He went home and he passed away that same night. Um, so it's like now I think they say the wife came to the bank to look now for the because of course he was saving money plus also the retirement, and they discovered he had more than 500 million Ugandan shillings. I think even up to billion
in the home.
on the account. So even money was not enough to keep him alive. Yeah? So this we shall discuss it in another day. But the psychological aspect of also living is very important. Yes, psychosocial aspect of life, living, learning more skills, learning new things, creating opportunities, creating business, maybe becoming consultants, uh, so that you can keep the brain active, you can keep the body active. Uh, because another challenge is if you have been someone who has worked in the civil service or private, it's also hard for you to just go back to the village because even your intellectual capacity is different from the one of the village, so you don't fit in. The culture is still here. We do not have elderly homes. I think none of us wants to be in an elderly home. It's still frowned upon in an African setting. But there are people who are looking now for elderly homes. Actually, even as we receive calls whether we have elderly home, so we have to look for someone who offers it, and these days we connect them to a certain elderly home. But it's becoming more common. I think the culture is changing also. The kids who are supposed to look after you, a lot of them have now either they are working somewhere else or someone is willing to pay money to be housed and taken care of in the elderly home, where they instead of being alone, maybe locked somewhere. So those are challenges which come with, you can say, aging. So I have a question for you now. I think we are almost closing. Would you say aging is aging a disease Yeah, but yeah. Would you say aging is a disease?
If what you've been sharing is what it causes, then it's a disease.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. Is it natural or is it?
That shouldn't be if
Yes.
one prepares for that aging.
It's not.
It's not
Okay, okay. Yes.
it's not a disease.
Okay. So,
It's not a disease.
okay. Yes, please do
It's
it.
not.
Okay, fair enough. I think aging itself, the process, the physiological process of our body changing, not a disease. However, the things which come with it makes it a disease in a sense. So it's both a disease, but also not a disease. Yeah, because now all these issues will not be there if not because of it. Uh, but if you look at it now from the angle of it being a disease, it means you can also manage it. You can overcome it. So it doesn't mean that you have to suffer with it. Actually, put in the effort, put in the time, put in the energy, put in your resources to it now prevents you from suffering along the way. And that is it. Dementia. You know, you have seen someone who has dementia, there's mental decline. Actually, only scientifically now, research shows there's only one thing which prevents dementia. Do you know what that is? Exercise, physical exercise. That's the only thing which actually.
Now it is common. It never used to be.
So it tells you, yes, people are not. That sedentary lifestyle, because the brain, at the end of the day, is another part of the body, and it needs that activity, it needs that oxygen. So the more you do that exercise, the more it also regenerates and the more it heals and the more it recovers. So actually, the more exercise you do will be helping you with dementia. We've talked about diabetes, we've talked about hypertension, stroke. There's also another thing which is common, arthritis also, these joint issues. Because of now, if there's a lot of weight on the bones and the joints, you're likely to develop those joint issues, but also the inflammation. Mm, Also, what we call vitamin D deficiency. Now, that's also diet, also a healthy diet, because vitamin D deficiency has been things which have been linked with the COVID death. I don't know who died from COVID, were actually people who were lacking vitamin D. Actually, those are two things which were killing people in COVID: lack of lacking vitamin D and overweight with the other NCDs. So people who had those two, a lot of them have died actually. That is it. Yes. So it's literally so. People who do not have it are the people who lived through it, whether you had vaccine or not. I mean, I don't know how much the vaccine contributed, but still, yeah. But that's why it was more common in the West because for them they were already elderly. They also have some vitamin D deficiency, so that's why a lot of them died. Italy, Japan, what USA, and
Where do we get vitamin D?
okay. I think that will be a presentation of its own. But let me just hint on it now. So, what happens to us as Africans is that we have a lot of sun exposure. So, because of that, our body does not absorb much of the vitamin D because it will be overwhelmed. So, that is the ideal now African scenario. However, now in this today's time where you can be spending your time in the car, at the office, so how often do you come out to get the sun? Because your body already requires more sunshine to get the same amount compared to a white person who, because they live in a snow and cold and whatever, their body can survive in a small vitamin D. Yeah. So this lifestyle change of us being in offices, in houses, 24/7 in a car means you're not going to get most of that vitamin D. Uh, so I don't know if you maybe do we do a test. I don't know how many you can realize that actually you're deficient, or you are low in it. But anyway, there's a diet. The
So
diet.
it's good from the sun.
Yes, that for it only comes from the sun. Actually, it's a natural vitamin. Yeah, but we shall have one of these talks where we shall go in details.
Maybe something which I can also clarify about it. Once we talk about vitamin D, thank you very much. Vitamin D is really very crucial. As he has said, we got it direct out from the sun. That's how it penetrates into our body, the skin. And another thing, you asked a very good question about nutritional wise. How would we get vitamin D? There is a vitamin D which is very, very important, the vitamin D3, which we always get from, if you talk of foods, look at mushrooms. Mushrooms are very important. We get vitamin D from them. There are also other types of fish, which we get vitamin D from, like is it tuna fish? Do we have it here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
tuna
fish,
fish.
the oil, the fish oil.
Sometimes there are other things which we also get vitamin D from, just like liver, the liver.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
This
liver also
liver
have,
of
Yes.
yes,
cow.
Of
of a
course.
cow, of a goat. Yeah, they also have vitamin D.
Yeah.
Maybe another thing which we are supposed to decide whether you use it or not. It is a vitamin D from the yolk of an egg. So if you're a person who doesn't have this much high cholesterol levels, we can recommend for you. But for somebody who has already this high cholesterol levels, we can decide to switch on into other sources of vitamin D. Otherwise,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yes,
So
thank
no
you.
yolk, no liver.
Liver is okay.
Yes.
So I can eat my liver.
I think we shall have a
Now.
Proteins.
we shall have, but and ideally that's why we first can do the test so that you know whether you actually like it or not, and then maybe if we discover there's deficiency, yeah, they can be. But they even supplements just from the pharmacy, just for those multivitamins. Yeah. So I think hope we have picked up some basics. But yeah, there will be. We shall discuss all these topics one by one, with even slides and even more. Today was just an overview of this Saturday, so I think we can have maybe a small questions in case questions you have, or we go direct to the exercise. I think we're all motivated now.